So before I start firing questions away,
All right.
same job status? Are you insider exposure Carolina Elite? Is that in flux?
No, so for me, I am insider exposure, and then I help with Carolina Elite, but mostly I'm with insider exposure. I'm the head scout for their scouting service, and I help him put on big tournaments all across the country, high school and AAU, and now even college events. So
Right. Well,
exciting times.
we'll get to that. Now, when you refer to insider exposure and you say that you help him, who is him?
John McGraw, who started it. I'm a partner with him. Um, been with him for the last 6 years now. Yeah, going into our seventh year.
And then
Uh,
how did you and John meet, and what was he doing when you met him?
so John's been doing tournaments now for 20. I think this is our 21st or 22nd year doing it. Um, I always went to his events. We became friends. We talked. I was with a different organization before I came to Carolina Elite. He was like, David, college coaches call you all the time. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, why don't you come on with me and let's do a service? And I was like, okay, how does that work? And we talked about it and jumped in 6 years ago doing scouting, and now I do it full time. So it's an exciting thing for me. I get to sit in the gym all the time, watch kids from fourth grade all the way up to rising rising seniors, and some
Right.
JUCO events.
I know that you often have a long to-do list.
Yes, very long.
So if you were going to start telling me about some of the most important things on that to-do list right now, I know there's 50 things and you can only do 10. What are a couple things that need done this week or this month?
So October is pretty much making my schedule for the year of what I'm going to do every weekend for high school sports, high school basketball. So, starting November 1st, I'm in a gym 6 nights, sometimes 7 nights a week, going to high school games. And then every weekend I'm at some tournament or some multi-team event that I can knock out. Some of them is like the Providence Day Super Scrimmage. Some other ones, She Got Game DC, the Cherokee Invitational out in Cherokee, North Carolina. But there's tons of them, and I just try to hit all the major events that I can to cover as many kids as I can to add to I think we're up to we rotate out. Once you become a sophomore in college, we rotate you out of our database. So I think we're somewhere around 10,000, athletes in the system right now.
So one thing I'm trying to get at here, yes, you're going to games, but I know when I was talking to you more, you were doing things like taping the floor of a gym that the lines weren't there, and you're making hundreds of hotel reservations. But so what are some of the behind the scene things that you're doing now? Are you already doing a lot on the Cherokee tournament? Are there more immediate things that need done, right? Like give us some
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
Yeah. So right now I'm getting, for the Cherokee, I'm trying to make sure all the high school teams and college teams have booked their rooms. We have for the colleges, we have their rooming list done already. There's a lot of stuff that I've learned this past 6 months with college operations for an actual game.
Right.
There's some stuff that you just assume is done through whoever is broadcasting the game. They don't. So for instance, replay, you would think ESPN just does replay for you. That is not the case. There's actually an on-site software that you have to provide for referees to do instant replay for them to get a call correct and stuff.
Is that you and John? Who is that? Who's who's nailing down the fine details of watching the replays for the college games?
Uh, I think we got it nailed down. It was pretty much me and John doing that. So
And
me and John have, yeah. So
do you
we've,
guys, so are you calling, is that contracted out? You figure out who you got to call and you pay them and they show up and
yeah, to a certain extent, yes. So we've went through and got someone. I think we're actually going to use Western Carolina's, you know, people or staff to help get this done for year one.
so I don't often bring this up, but I'm an assistant coach at Watauga High School. We're going to your event. I guess it's an insider exposure event in
It is.
Cherokee. You've mentioned it several times. So this, I guess, when you're promoting that event and you're talking to people trying to get them excited about it, what do you tell them about? And we're talking about Cherokee, North Carolina, at the convention center in Western North Carolina, which happens to be adjacent to the casino. So I guess first just sort of sell the event, and then I have some follow-up questions about that.
I got you. So let me kind of how this came about. So one of my good friends, I helped his daughter get to college and stuff, and he was like, "Hey, the Cherokee Eastern Band of Cherokee is trying to revamp some of the stuff with the casino and getting new people, younger families and younger age people to come to the casino." And they're like, they're interested in doing some sporting stuff. Do you think you guys could put on an event? And I was like, maybe, went through everything. February last year, they kind of struck a deal with us and got a 3-year contract to put this on. So we're doing 2014, we're doing 28 teams this year, high school, 4 college teams. And then next year, we're going to 64 high school teams and 4 college teams. And they'll all be under pretty much one roof. So during the day, college coaches that are already going to be there are going to be able to come watch high school games. And then at night, they'll be able to play. So the format will kind of be, from 9 to 6, high school teams will play. And then from 7:30 till the next 2 games, college teams will play. So this year, we're only doing one college game per night. But going forward, will be 2 college games per night, and there'll be a champion. And yeah, one of the big
Go ahead.
one of the big reasons we went to this format was the NCAA cut the days that college coaches can go out from, I think it was 168 days during the high school season down to 63 days. And don't hold me to that 63, but it got cut in half, over half. So now colleges are going to have to do more multi-team events and not go to a single high school game or a single workout. They're only going to do those for, high priority kids. So the model for high school basketball is going to go to more multi-team events in the weekends and during the week formats.
What about this event have you done before? And what about this event is like a brand new thing for you?
Okay, so we've never done a Christmas event, but we do a pre-Thanksgiving event down in Jacksonville, Florida, that is one of the best in the country. So we're not new to doing high school events, but we are very new to doing college events and putting on college tournaments. So it's a super great opportunity. And one of the big things we're really going to push is women's empowerment. That's going to be a big thing, women's in sports, NIL, how it can help your kid, what you can do to be proactive, and just kind of go over everything in that.
So when you, for example, you need some gym floors there, I assume.
Yes.
Where and I haven't been to, and you may have a lot of experience doing this. I've gone to a lot of your events where, you know, you're using a facility. So where do the gym floors come from? It sounds like they're new to putting on this kind of event. That's just one example of hundreds of examples of things you're having to
Yeah.
navigate.
So we actually are going through, the casino is actually going to buy some floors and
Hmm.
stuff like that and put up some scoreboards and goals and shot clocks and all that good stuff. But the people actually we're going through is part of the Maui Invitational that put down the floor and stuff with the graphics and all that goes along with, you know, putting on a production for a TV
Sure.
event, you know, with logos on the floor, you know, different sponsorships through out the event.
So I've asked you before about the business model for insider exposure. And you've said that you sort of took a different angle on putting on these events. And I know you can't tell us everything, but just giving people a sense of like, how is insider exposure a business? How does that work?
So we put on, you know, youth events all over the country, and we try to bring the best talent to an event for college coaches to be able to come watch all under one roof. So at the event that's going to be there, there's going to be the number 9 player in the country, Blanca Thomas, in the 24 class. She will be there. Another ESPN top 100 kids for the 23 class. We have a Stanford commit and
So when you mentioned someone, just to give some people an idea, someone like Blanca Thomas, who I think will be playing at the Super Scrimmage that you and I will be at, which we'll circle back to in a second, and also at this event in Cherokee, like what are some of the top schools that are interested in her, just to give people an idea?
So her top 10, she's narrowed her list to a top 10: Carolina, Duke, NC State, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, Stanford. Let's see, who else am I forgetting here? Michigan.
I think that's a good
Yeah.
list. Who do you think then? So at this, let's just take Cherokee for example. There'll be college coaches will come beyond the ones who are playing in the games, correct or no?
That's correct. So we should have about 40 coaches there. I know we have 20 already signed up: Tennessee, South Carolina, Carolina, Duke State, and then some D2 and D3 schools as well.
And then you have 28 teams.
Mhm.
And so does this space going to look like a travel tournament space with just, you know, kind of lots of courts and limited bleachers, a little bit more? What kind of crowd do you expect, just fan wise?
So we have it set up so there's 1,000 seats on both sides for 2
Yep.
courts. So plenty of seating, be more like a intimate high school environment, where when we fill up for the college games, it's going to feel like everyone's right up on top of you.
Yep.
For the high school games, depending on the crowds, I'm probably thinking around 200 to 300 people in the convention center on each side. So there should be a pretty good atmosphere for girls basketball.
Yeah. Well, so just to say, you know, thanks, David. We're excited about it. You know, it'll be fun. It's something that, you know, I have a daughter on the team as well that I know the kids are talking about all the time, and something they're really looking forward to. So it's an exciting event. I'm going to shift gears a little bit here. So
Okay.
this summer, I would often get a call from you late Sunday night. You would be exhausted, and you would just sort of check in and see how I was doing. Tell me about driving home. Who are you checking in with? And then who's checking in with you? So just try to tell me a little bit of that story of like you're coming home and what that's like just after. And what I'm trying to do in part is I think a lot of people don't know you very well, and they don't know how you spend your time, and they don't know how many people you have to talk to and how many people you hear from. So I'm just trying to give people an idea of, you know, someone who's putting on these tournaments, someone who's trying to balance having half your work in with the teams in Carolina Elite and FBC, and the other half in insider exposure. Just give them a glimpse into what that's like.
Well, for me, I've always learned that this is about relationships. So I try to check in with everyone that I interact with Carolina Elite. I try to call every coach and check just how the weekend went, what I missed, what I didn't see, any problems or anything I need to try to cut off at the pass. If there was any problems with hotel stuff or any other um,
We could say incidents.
yeah, incidents. I
So
like
you're,
that
you know,
incidents.
you're trying to be polite, but if you were going to estimate, so here's something I say that has nothing to do with you really. I mean, you live in the same world as I do. But if I'm walking out of, let's say, Carolina courts in Charlotte, where there are definitely some inside exposure events, I might give a low ball estimate that 40% of parents and players are pretty frustrated. You could just say, well, half the team's lost, so they're frustrated. How do you kind of manage those expectations? Or to me, it just looks like a world where lots of people are not savoring the moment joyfully, but instead really frustrated, right? So to me, your job seems pretty stressful.
Yeah, I would agree to a certain extent. I think it's a nice balance between some things. I think some of it is putting people's perspective of what a win is. I know I've told you this before. Like, I much rather play 20 games that I lost by 1 or 2 points in front of 100 college coaches, and all my kids that are connected to me are getting recruited at the highest level. But parents don't look at it that way. Parents look at it who's winning, who's why is my kid not playing half the game and stuff like that. I know a lot of parents think every kid should play the whole game because that's what they do in high school. In high school, they score 30 points, get every shot, and that's just not how you move up the ranks in AAU in college. At high school, you're the best player on your team, and when you go to AAU or travel basketball, you're one of the best players on the teams. And when you go to the college, you start back over. You're probably one of the worst players on the team, just because of experience. So, like, parents just want their kid to play the most and kind of go from there. And every parent thinks that Gino's coming to recruit their kid.
Right.
Uh,
So a general manager of a professional team, they put teams together.
mhm.
College coaches put teams together. And you put a lot of teams together. I don't know if you think of it that way.
I
Um,
do.
yeah. So and then of course all of those teams are put together with different goals in mind. So what would you say about the way that you try to put teams together? How do you go about doing that?
Uh, for me, I try to put people into the system people are running. So I do a lot of read and react stuff with the teams that I run. So we're looking for long, somewhat athletic, can shoot the ball, can play multiple positions. So I'm looking for those type of players. Now, for other teams that are more post driven, I'm looking for more taller players that 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 can go into the post, and then strictly more guard post ratio type. But I would also say that I'm looking for people. You can't have the model that some AAU teams have of all-star players
Mhm.
that don't play any roles at all. They're just high-powered guns, and we're going to score every time. Some of the teams need to be built with 3 or 4 studs or really good players, and then some other role players that fit into that what you need to get done. And that's just kind of how I build teams, putting kids where they need to go.
Right. So you at some point you had I would say, almost no relationships with college coaches, right? You didn't, at some point, you knew almost no one.
That's correct.
Now you have this wide breadth of connections. What would you say were some of the keys to building those relationships? How did that get started?
So this was probably 2007. I came back and coached high school basketball at River Mill Academy, a small 1A school in Graham, North Carolina. Um, when I came back, I was an assistant coach under Hamilton Perkins that put out in 2011, I think it was five, 4 or 5 Division One players out of one class, out of a 1A school.
Wow.
And I was like, man, I got to get these kids some traction early. So I just started making phone calls, went to coaches clinics. Anyone that would talk to me, I would try to talk to them. And then just, told coaches the truth. Like, I didn't try to sell a kid that can barely walk and chew gum, to UNC. I talked to Chris Daly. I don't call Chris Daly a lot because I don't have a ton of, UConn kids. Same thing with Tennessee and other places like that. Like, if I don't have those kids, I'm not trying to sell people something that can't happen. And I think that's what's built the trust for me with college coaches, that I'm not selling them, pipe dreams.
So when did you kind of make the move from, so let's say you sort of formed 15 or so light relationships with college coaches on this high school year around 2007. When did you sort of shift into either, what was the next step? Was it putting on tournaments? Was it starting to write about prospects? What was the next step from the going back to high school coaching?
Yeah. So then I did some AAU stuff on my own. Then I went to a couple of different clubs and um, did teams and put on, had really good teams and put those teams into good events. And then I think it was our 2017 is when there was a mix, a change. And then I went with John asked me to come on with him, and that's when it really took off. I probably went from knowing 30 college coaches to going to knowing about 100 or 200 college coaches really quickly. And then, just kind of build from there. And another thing I do every year is I go to the women's Final Four and go to the WBCA, mixers, hang out, meet new people, try to connect people to new jobs. And yeah, that's just kind of that's how I've built my clientele, I should say.
So I know the NCAA factors in. In other words, some things change because of the NCAA, so you have to do things differently. When you sort of think about last year and you look ahead to the next year, and you already talked about that the 167 days getting cut, 168 getting cut to 63. What other kind of changes, either because you think there's a better way to do insider exposure at Carolina Elite, or because there's changes in the NCAA guidelines? What kind of changes would be interesting for us to hear about?
Probably would be the changing of the calendar for travel or non-scholastic days. So we're still having our April dates, or May dates, but we're no longer doing the 7-day gauntlet, I call it, in July. We no longer do that. Now it's 2 4-day weekends that everyone's going to still kind of move it out to. Instead of 4-day weekends, there'll be 6-day weekends. Each place will probably do 1 day on the front part, 1 day on the end of a non-eval part. So they'll bring you in the day before eval starts, get some games played, and then get you into evals after that. I know the Run for the Roses is going to do that. I know Hoosier Heat will. I know this year UAA will do one of their days as a non-eval day. And
So
that's just
you'll show up somewhere like Hoosier Heat. You'll play some games that aren't during the evaluation period, and then the evaluation period will start. So are you saying, I guess, what should I, a super practical question, which applies to a lot of listeners too, I think. I was there for a week last year. What should I expect next summer?
I think you should be planning on, 5 to 6 days.
Yep.
Instead of being there for 8 days like you were before. And then you're going to play 1 to 2 games a day. I mean,
yeah, that's very similar. Just a couple days shorter.
Correct.
Right. Which I don't know how you feel about that. That sounds good to me as a parent and a potential coach. It was a long week.
I definitely think I've done it for so long, so I understand the grind of it. Do I think it's the best thing for best basketball ever? No, but when I first started, they gave you 60 days in the summer to go, and colleges picked when they went out.
Yep.
And they won't go back to that format. Then you just pick what tournament you want to go to. Then one weekend you're in Cincinnati, one weekend you're in wherever, and people just picked the days. But there was more individual events then as well. But they wanted to condense the schedule to these certain times.
If you're in charge, and you could make a couple changes and just sort of make things a little bit better on the travel circuit, what would be a couple things you would do, or is that not really the way you think about it?
The only thing I would say is go back to you have 60 days to run events and, make people pick and choose what you're going to go to. And then you wouldn't have people fighting over teams. People would just go to what they felt comfortable going to. And I think the NCAA did a really bad job doing the same weekends as the boys. Like they should be alternating and stuff like that. So then, we're not, Nike's not paying for Spooky Nuke or paying for some convention center. Now we have to go high school to high school, and college coaches don't like that, or going to a convention center that's only got 12 courts.
So that's
just give us some better.
That would be I certainly would have never thought of that. Makes absolute sense now. So you're competing for facilities. You're probably competing for officials.
Yep. Yes, there is a shortage of officials.
And aren't you the official guy? Are you the one who arranges them? Are you one of the guys who arranges them?
We have a booking agent that we go through that does it.
Yep. All right. So let's circle back to the super scrimmage. You're not putting that on. You show up at stuff like that. So just tell me, like, so maybe I should say a little bit more about it. It's on November 5th. I'm also a part of the Watauga staff. We're going. I'm not even positive how many teams there are. What's a day like that look like for you? What are your goals for the day when you go to the super scrimmage?
So for me, I'm going to get there at the first game time. So that's 8:30. So I'm going to get there about 8:15. I'm going to try to see every team at the event, and I'm try to see some teams multiple times. So Charlotte Catholic, that has Blanca Thomas, I'm going to get 2 evals on her for 2 different games. Delaney Hill, go ahead.
When Blanca has the offers she has, what's the point of you continuing to evaluate her? And I'm not being a pain. I really have no idea what it would be. So what's the point of continuing to evaluate her?
Just to see where she's growing, see if she's plateaued, kind of see what she's added to her game. And you never know. So last year, some people were committed to other schools, and the staff changed. So they reopened their recruitment. Stuff like that is why you keep scouting. And plus, people want to, if I sell a new service to Cal, University of Berkeley, like they want to compare someone that they've watched and recruited to what I wrote down to what they wrote down in their evaluations to see, oh, does he know what he's talking about, or do we just throw
Right.
away some money?
So is most of the day is spent writing evaluations of players,
Correct.
probably continuing to build relationships with the coaches who show up.
Correct.
And then is it just are you talking to kids much? Are you talking to parents? Not really that day.
I talk to anybody. So if you come up and if I'm working, like you can come up and talk to me at all. I can work and talk at the same time. I may not look you in the eye while I'm working, but I can hold a conversation with you while I'm evaluating. I'll be taking pictures, doing some video, doing some media. But definitely try to get an eval on every team. So then I know what other good games to go to. So if I didn't catch Chambers one time down there, and I need to know who would be a good matchup where I can see Division I kids versus Division I kids. I'm not, watching you play St. Mary's School of the Blind and kid has 60 points and everyone's like, oh, she's great. Well, she didn't play anybody. So trying to put up and coming kids, watch them against kids that have already a pedigree and already shown that they're pretty good.
So you're saying anybody who hears this, if they see David Kent, they're welcome to come up and chat you up about basketball and what you're doing.
You can ask me any questions. I'm an open book. That I have no problem with.
Because I think maybe you look a little scarier than you really are. I don't know how approachable you look, but I think I've heard you, for example, and you may or may not want to do this, but I've heard you pitch a parent or two on Carolina Elite Travel. What kind of things would you say about that program, about what kind of kids should get involved with that program, and what kind of things would you say about that program? So mostly you've taken the time, to come on the podcast. I want to give you a chance to sort of pitch your organization a little bit to anybody who might be listening.
Yeah. So we help every kid. So we have teams that are, talking to people like UConn, Stanford. And then we also put people in Division II and Division III. This is a very fun fact that I like to share, that we had a 17U team. Everyone on that Adidas team had a scholarship offer that wanted to play ball in college from Division II and up. So we put a bunch of people in Division I there, but everyone had a scholarship offer. Then our sister organization with the Rise over there, almost everyone on there has an opportunity to play college basketball. And that was a big thing between me and Brittany Cox and Brittany Drew that ran the organization for the 17U. They worked their butt off, sending out emails. We sent it out, getting people to college. So if you're looking just to hang out with your friends and play basketball, Carolina Elite's probably not the organization for you to come to. But if you're looking to go get high level basketball, get in front of college coaches and have an opportunity to play against some of the best players in the country, you probably want to jump on the train and have a good ride for the end of your high school and into your collegiate career.
How much would you say you call up a college coach to tell them about some players, and then they call you sometimes? What kind of things get asked? What kind of things do you tell them? You've already sort of alluded to the fact that scoring 30 points in every game is not necessarily what the conversation is about. What other kinds of things do you talk to coaches about? What do they ask? What do you sell about it?
Yeah, so I probably talk to 10 to 15 coaches a day, some more than others. They ask me everything from how good is the kid? Like I saw him against this, what is their normal? You see them way more than we do. What's their normal habits? Like, are they good people? You know, do they do, you know, are they, how's their athleticism? We didn't get to see them. You know, the team we saw them play with in high school plays zone. Can they guard somebody? Um, and just other stuff like that. Just asking, hey, I haven't really seen her shoot the ball a lot. Can she shoot? Well, coach, she has good form. You know, I don't think she's comfortable right now shooting it on a consistent basis. Rebounding, you know, coach, does she rebound outside of her area? You know, footwork, other stuff like that. Just kind of the fine details part of, you know, seeing if they'll fit in at their college and at their level.
So if you've got say you got a sixth grader, you got an eighth grader, they know of 6 travel programs in the area, they heard about all these tournaments. What kind of advice do you give people as they begin to start to navigate the whole landscape of, I want to be a college basketball player, what should I do in the summer? What should people watch out for? What kind of questions should they ask? What would you say to
them? There's so much. I don't know if we have enough time for that
right.
on this podcast, but I would tell them, like, you need to make sure we understand that there's a difference from going to exposure events and being exposed. If your kid's not ready to be at, you know, court 1 with 250 coaches, you don't need to be in front of them if you're not ready for that spotlight, because that's a big problem. And then you want to go with people that have track records and you see results from, you know, not trying to kill the mom and pops teams and stuff like that. But if you've never been through the process, they don't know how to get your kid recruited for that. But if I'm in 6th grade, I want to go somewhere where you're playing competitive games and you're getting better at every practice. You know, you want to be taught what needs to happen. You know, they need to be skill developed and you know, put in situations for them to succeed. You know, if your kid's sitting at the end of the bench, not playing at all, you're probably in the wrong team. If you're playing every second of the game, you're probably on the wrong team as well. You should play on a team where you're being forced to be competing for a spot every practice, every game, like making sure that that happens.
Right. If thinking about the cycle of the basketball season from your perspective, take me through, like, so right now we're in the fall, what are you doing? How are you spending winter? As you get ready for travel season, what's that look like? Just sort of the seasons of your job or the cycles of your job. What's that look like?
Well, for the scouting side or for Carolina?
Well, it's interesting to do both. Maybe just a couple big things on each side that kind of jump out to you.
Yeah, so starting August 1st, I start going to a lot of the individual stuff for showcase for the scouting service. So I go to all the big stuff like John Lucas, the Wooten 150, and some Friday Night Lights stuff, different individual events from August till October. So usually once, twice a month, I'm going somewhere like Houston, Dallas, Tampa for that. For Carolina Elite is when I'm organizing film, getting stuff ready to send out, you know, last mixtapes, highlight tapes of the summer for kids, for they can get into, you know, underclassmen days, going to on visits in the fall, helping kids get to visits. I went with someone this past 2 weekends ago. We did 4 colleges in 4 days, her and her dad and me. Got to get in front of some coaches, got to hang out, talk, build stronger relationships with them. So that's kind of on the Carolinas elite side. And then, you know, talking to parents that thought that the team Pillsbury U told them that they were going to UConn and they didn't see a college coach all summer and they wanted to go somewhere else. And that's what I, talk to them and tell them if it'd be a fit or not a fit. Starting November 1st, I kind of go into watching high school games. At the same time, I'm looking to see if there's any new kids that are on my list that, might be interested in a new travel organization. So I kind of do it hand in hand. And I do a lot of traveling. Like I said before, 6 nights a week, sometimes 7. Going to high school games, going to gyms, checking off that I've seen these kids, or there might be someone like Louisville or someone's like, hey, coach, can you go get an eval? This coach keeps sending me tape. I need to one, see that they're saying this kid's 6'4", kid's really 6'1", and just verifying some things for them as well. So I do that all the way through February. During that time, I'm also getting gear for Carolina Elite, getting t-shirts, getting bags, booking hotel rooms.
That was more the list that I was kind of talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that you're evaluating kids, but I think people maybe don't realize, like, on a typical weekend, how many hotel reservations are you making? Is it 50? Is it 150?
Anywhere from 40 to 150. Putting people in hotel rooms. I know one time at the beginning of the season, we literally sold out. We use Hilton properties, every Hilton property in the city. We literally took up a lot of hotel rooms.
So to think about, like, you liked basketball, you coached high school basketball, and now this is what you do. It's pretty interesting and surprising where basketball has led you, all these different things you've become, just jobs that you've had to accomplish.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I said I always wanted to be a coach when I was very little, said that I never knew this is what it would turn into. And trust me, I'm grateful every day that I get the opportunity to do this, help kids, help people, try to get to their goals and help people, get an education to help better their lives.
I've got 2 more. Get ready for, is there anything else you want to talk about? You can sort through that in the back of your mind, or anything else you want to ask me. But so when you think about Carolina Elite side of things, you went through last year. I know from you, there's always a reflection of, like, how did that go? What can we do better? I feel like that's something you're always thinking about. What would you say people should look for that might be a little bit different about the way Carolina Elite FBC works next year, or are you still in the midst of trying to figure that out?
I think we're in the mix of trying to figure that out. I think we're going to go from having, 80 teams to more of compacting, doing a few less teams that are truly Carolina Elite underneath the umbrella, maybe do more Rise teams and stuff like that. I think that would be the biggest.
Do say a little bit more about Rise. I would think a lot of people don't know about it. So that's in Winston-Salem.
Yep, it's a new sports.
So it's a new facility. It's a new partnership for you. Say a little bit more about that.
So it's an 8-court facility in actually Bermuda Run. They would like me to clarify, but it's right outside of Winston.
Good job. I like it when you correct me, Coach.
It's all good. They're trying to build the girls' side over there through Carolina Elite. They have some great coaches. They're, was very competitive in a lot of things. A lot of games. I think they came pretty close to winning in one division of a couple of insider exposure events. But they are kind of our feeder program, if you want to call it, where people can go there. If you stand down and get really good, then you can come play on our Adidas, Under Armour circuit style teams. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they offer, I've heard good things about the facility. I haven't been. They offer a little bit of a different schedule.
Yes,
It's
very much so.
a
No,
little
I
bit more
don't think.
regional, yeah,
Yeah, definitely more regional, and you're
a little bit
not.
more local kids, not
Yeah.
coming, at least not coming 5 to 7 hours or coming from the beach to the area, but at least, a reasonable drive over there. So I've heard good
Yep.
things about it. Okay, is there anything else you need to promote? Anything else we need to talk about?
I'm pretty much here just for you, Torg. Whatever you'd like to talk about, or if there's anything else we haven't covered on it.
No, well, I appreciate it. I've missed seeing you. I'll see you in a couple weeks. All right.
I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right. Thanks for joining, Coach.
Thank you.
Smart takes the shot, and the Hoosiers with 3 seconds. Go ahead.
But what we found out is that each one of us is a brain and an athlete
And a basket case. A princess.
and a criminal. Does that answer your question?
I love you guys.